Philip Rogic took a problem into his own hands and vowed to change it. In Utah, where Rogic lives, the average temperature in February is 20 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. And during the cold winter months, many stray animals are in grave danger of being caught out in the cold. Luckily, Rogic used supplies that he had in his garage to help these animals and save some stray cats' lives. It's estimated that there are 58 million stray cats in America. It is, however, difficult to get an accurate count. That number could be as low as 35 million, or as high as 75 million. The problem, however, isn't just strays. While some cats can be adopted and given a home, others can't. Feral cats or unsocialized cats. These cats are fearful of humans and keep their distance. Some can be socialized, but for some feral cats, the more compassionate choice is to leave them outdoors. They do, however, face challenges. One of those problems is the cold. In Ogden, Utah, the average temperature in February is 21.2 degrees Fahrenheit. It can, however, get much colder than that. Temperatures can reach into the negatives. This can make things difficult for the wildlife there. One man, Philip Rogic, decided to do something about it. Rogic is no stranger to good deeds. He runs a site called Batman of Ogden, where he does cosplay for various charities. Normally, he works for children's charities, but he also has a soft spot for animals. Rogic decided he wanted to do something for the feral cats in his city. His concern was that no one was looking out for them. Feral cats just disappear, get overlooked, he said. Rogic looked for a solution. Rogic decided to create a DIY solution. He decided to use a common household item, a cooler. Normally the cooler keeps things cold. We're going to use it to keep animals warm, he said. Why a cooler? Because they're easy to come by. Everybody's got a cooler in their garage that they're not using, Rogic says. Not only can you declutter your garage, you can save cats while doing it. Rogic is turning coolers into shelters for cats. He is placing these cat shelters around the community so that feral cats have a warm place to stay. He wants them to have a refuge from the cold. They get cold in the wintertime too, he said. Why is he doing it? Rogic says he's always been an animal lover. Plus, the coolers would go to waste. Many would end up in landfills. There, they would just take up space when they could be used for a much better purpose. It all starts with a drill bit. Rogic uses a 6-inch drill bit to drill a hole in the cooler. This is the entrance for the cat. Once a cat enters the cooler, the insulation that would usually be used to keep your drinks cold will now be used to trap the cat's body heat inside the cooler and keep them from the cold. Rogic then pads the entrance to make it comfortable for the cats. Using pipe insulation, he covers the hole he made. The entrance sits low to the ground to make it easy for the cats to come and go. The last thing Rogic does is fill the coolers with straw. Why straw? Straw has been used for hundreds of years as bedding for animals, he says. That's because it has the ability to dry out. Not only that, but it acts as more insulation to keep heat inside the cooler. The project takes about 5 minutes, total. Drilling through the cooler is an easy job. There is a layer of plastic, then styrofoam, then plastic. Adding the padding and straw is also very little effort. And other materials can be used depending on what you have around. Since the project relies on old, unused coolers, on top of taking little time, it's inexpensive as well. The only additional material needed is some pipe insulation. Pipe insulation is only $1 per roll. As long as you have a drill bit, the project costs practically nothing. And it could mean the world to an animal in need. With some simple tweaks, the coolers are totally transformed. Unused coolers go from clutter to a comfortable home. Who would have thought a cooler could be a home for cats? Talk about upcycling. It isn't just one cat per cooler. Rogic believes each cooler can house 2 to 3 cats. Feral cats socialize with each other and travel in packs, so they're likely to stay together. This makeshift home keeps that in mind and makes it possible for families of cats to stay together. Local cats are already interested. A few have already made use of the coolers. Rogic hopes more of them will emerge from the bushes. He wants the coolers to be their new home. And if some cats are already using them, they will probably spread the word to other wild cats and ensure a safe home for their peers. Rogic is spreading the love. And it's not only Ogden he's taking care of. He's placed coolers in the nearby town of Richmond as well. Rogic is looking out for many of the community's felines without needing to take up much space or cost the community any funds. For Rogic, his reasoning for doing this is very simple. They're living creatures, he said. Living creatures, they deserve to have their basic needs met. For Rogic, it's about compassion for all creatures. That is what inspires all of his charitable endeavors. It's all about giving these animals a better shot at life. I'm giving them a second chance, one way or another, Rogic said. His care for these cats is very apparent. He's trying to do something others aren't doing. Because who would have thought of cat coolers before? Rogic's good deed has started to spread. Others in the community are volunteering to chip in. He's had people offer to donate old coolers. Others have offered to donate straw. When these items are donated, the cost of making these cat coolers is nothing but the few minutes it takes to put them together and set them out in the wild. Local thrift store Savers has offered to help as well. They have promised a donation to Rogic. At the end of the season, they will give him their old coolers. The whole community is rallying for their local cats. So far, Rogic has built and placed 37 coolers. His goal, at the time of interviewing, was 60 by the end of the week. By the end of the winter, he wants to have placed 250 coolers. Rogic is no slouch. If you enjoyed this story, wait for our next story starting in 10 seconds. Scientists in Russia were shocked last year after the discovery of a furry little puppy that was buried beneath frozen mud for a whopping 18,000 years, bringing us face to face with prehistoric animal life. But what can his death tell us about the dogs we have as pets today? The puppy, which was discovered by locals in the Russian region of Yakutia, is being studied by a group of scientists at Northeastern Federal University in Yakutsk, the capital of Yakutia. The impressively preserved pup was found in the summer of 2018 inside a lump of a frozen, muddy ground near Indigirka River, northeast of Yakutsk, its full body intact with a shapely snout, and even whiskers and eyelashes protected by permafrost. Yakutsk, where the puppy was found, is known for its extreme freezing temperatures during the winter months. In fact, last year a photo of a woman in this city with frozen eyelashes went viral, showing us just how cold it is in this part of the world. Following the discovery of the puppy, scientists explained how the conditions of the permafrost could mean that the animal may have died 100 to 200 years ago. However, this was before researchers in Stockholm conducted radiocarbon dating to discover the true age of the animal, and when they did, they were astonished by the impressive age of this furry little creature. A global effort to learn more about this prehistoric animal was quickly carried out when a piece of the puppy's bone was sent straight to Stockholm's Center for Paleogenetics, where scientists conducted carbon dating tests. When scientists were alerted of the discovery of this little puppy, the most important thing to do was figure out just how old it was. The first step was, of course, to send the sample to radiocarbon dating to see how old it was, and when we got the results back, it turned out that it was roughly 18,000 years old, said Love Dallin, professor of evolutionary genetics in Stockholm. Scientists at the Center for Paleogenetics asked their Russian colleagues to help come up with the most fitting name for their new furry friend, and the result? Dogger. And no, this isn't a pun on the word dog, but instead a Yakutian word for friend. Frozen for 18 millennia, this tiny furball was found with its whiskers and teeth still intact. Looking at this image, the dog looks as if it died the same day the picture was taken, and not at all like it died 18,000 years ago. After an extensive physical examination, scientists found the dog with all its limbs, pelage, teeth and nose almost in the condition as they were the day the puppy died. Scientists were also able to determine that the dog was male. Love Dallin, a professor at the Stockholm-based Center for Paleogenetics, took a sample of the puppy's DNA from its bones to find out whether or not the animal was actually a dog or that of a wolf. That makes it even more interesting, Dallin said. With fur, skeleton, teeth, a head, lashes, a nose and whiskers still intact, scientists were now conducting extensive tests to figure out if Dogger was a domesticated pet or a wild animal, and for these scientists, the search for the answer was all part of the fun. In an interview with the Associated Press, Dallin said, "We have now generated a nearly complete genome sequence from it, and normally when you have a two-fold coverage genome, which is what we have, you should be able to relatively easily say whether it's a dog or a wolf, but we still can't say." In an interview, Dallin admitted that usually the first DNA tests make it clear whether or not the animal is a wolf or a dog, yet in this case they couldn't identify it from the first try. "This is intriguing. What if it's a dog? We can't wait to get results from further tests," said Sergei Fedorov from the Institute of Applied Ecology of the North. Scientists have planned to conduct a third round of genome sequencing, which might solve the mystery as to whether or not this animal was a dog or a wolf. The importance of these findings give us insight into the history of dogs and will provide us with a better understanding as to when dogs started to evolve from wolves. Scientists have conflicting theories regarding the origins of dogs, so any evidence that expands this understanding is essential. Some suggest that dogs evolved about 15,000 years ago from a group of extinct wolves. Others say it could have happened 30,000 years ago from wolves that evolved after generations of domesticated exposure to humans. Although the findings of its species have not been determined yet, this opens the question of not only if this animal was a wolf or a dog, but more interestingly, if it was the transitional species between wolf and dog. That is the question researchers are now working on. With the permafrost in Russia's Far East melting as a result of climate change, scientists are discovering more and more prehistoric animals that have been buried beneath freezing conditions. In recent years, prehistoric mammals such as woolly mammoths, canines, a woolly rhinoceros and a horse's foal have been discovered beautifully intact as a result of the freezing temperatures which the bodies were buried beneath. These findings broaden our knowledge of life on Earth thousands of years ago. Climate change and global warming is causing frozen regions around the world to melt at a rapid rate, so we are seeing more and more perfectly preserved prehistoric animals being discovered lying beneath the Earth's frozen surface. In October, the Russian Navy reported that glacial melting had revealed 5 new islands in the Arctic that were completely unknown. Also in January, researchers from the University of Colorado Boulder said that melting glaciers helped them discover landscapes in the Canadian Arctic that had been hidden for more than 40,000 years. Over the past decade, Yakutia in Russia has seen a flood of unique discoveries like these as a result of rapid climate change. Sergei Fyodorov, a scientist at Northeastern Federal University, told the Associated Press, "It really exists, we feel it, and local people feel it strongly. Winter comes later. Spring comes earlier. Often it is mammoth tusk hunters who discover the prehistoric frozen mammals." According to Dr. Stanton, a research fellow at the Center for Paleogenetics in Stockholm, treasure seekers sometimes use water cannons to break through the permafrost to extract mammoth ivory tusks, which are later sold. Doggers' remains are now kept at a private facility at the Northern World Museum where scientific studies continue to determine the history of this little prehistoric puppy. As of now, the cause of the dogger's death has not been determined. However, its position did not suggest that he died in distress. Researchers are still carrying studies to learn more about the pup's life and death. Although the cause of Dogger's death is still unknown, researchers do know that he was just 8 weeks old when he perished. It is unquestionable that scientists will continue their testing to learn all they can about this captivating creature.